Good evening. My name is Capri Taylor, and in honor of Black History Month, I thought I would tell you about the father of Black history. His name is Carter G. Woodson. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can somebody be the father of Black history? But he was the first person to really acknowledge the fact that Black history is a subject that should be studied and recognized as something important. In Walking Proud, a biography written about Carter Woodson, Mary Anthony Schooling stated that Carter wanted to find a way to prevent children from despising themselves based on the color of their skin. Dr. Woodson was born in 1875 to two former slaves in West Virginia. Like most African American children of that day, he couldn't focus on his schooling or learning anything because he had to help support his family. He worked as a sharecropper and as a miner. But somehow through all of that, he found time to teach himself the basics like reading. He taught himself to read by looking at things like newspapers and the Bible. At the age of 20, he was able to enter into high school, and he actually graduated within 2 years. Once he finished high school, he then attended Berea University in Kentucky, where he earned a bachelor's, and after that, he traveled to the Philippines, where he became a school teacher, teaching English, and he also was a superintendent there. Once he returned from the Philippines, he entered into the University of Chicago, where he earned his bachelor's and his master's. After leaving there, he went on to Harvard University. He was the second African American to graduate from Harvard University with a PhD, behind W.E.B. Du Bois. He graduated with his PhD in history, and after that, he began to focus on Black history. Carter Woodson co-founded the Association for the Study of the Negro Life and History, along with Jesse E. Moreland. The objective of the organization was basically to uncover the missing and forgotten information of the pages of the history of the African American, as stated by Dr. E. Curtis Alexander. He basically just wanted to show that African American history wasn't something to play about, and it was important. And I think he got that because one of his professors while he attended Harvard stated that there was no history of the African American, which really bothered him because there was. He wanted to show that it was important and that they had just as much to contribute to the world as Caucasians or whites did. After they started the organization, Carter Woodson then wrote his first book titled The Journal of the Negro History, which is now called the Journal of the African American History. After that book was written, Carter Woodson, along with his association, worked to get a week dedicated to the African Americans. The week fell the second week in February, and they called it the Negro History Week, which then became the Black History Week, and then that week then expanded over to the entire month of February. Dr. Woodson stated that at this moment, then, the Negro must begin to do the very thing which they have been taught that they cannot do. Basically because during that time period, people said that African Americans were dumb, they couldn't go on to do the same things that whites did, like become doctors and teachers and lawyers, and he wanted to prove the world that they could. And he wanted to show that once you learn the heritage of where you come from, you can do anything. This is a picture of Dr. Woodson. This is the house in Washington, D.C. that he lived in. After he died in 1950, they changed the house into a museum, which anybody can go to now. It's open to the public. This is a statue of Dr. Woodson, which is located in West Virginia, of course, his home state. And this is the cover of his first book, entitled The Journal of the African American History. I believe that from Dr. Woodson, we should learn that we can do anything, because Dr. Woodson he wasn't given all the opportunities that we have now, but he still left his mark and legacy on the world. He still changed everything that used to be. And if he could do it back then where there were no opportunities, when children didn't always go to school, they didn't always have education, then imagine what we can do now if we come together, or if we just show a little bit of ambition and courage and go out and do what we dream about doing. And thank you for allowing me to talk to you today about Dr. Carter G. Woodson.